Hello, welcome back. So we have a new series of videos that will be running with respect to Azure Data Factory. So you can see a couple of videos coming in this series of Azure Data Factory. So to start with, we are today understanding the introductory part of Azure Data Factory. So a few basic details that we want to understand before going to learn Azure Data Factory, right? And when we are learning Azure Data Factory, so the intention here is to explain Azure Data Factory with respect to the data engineering. That means whoever is looking for a data engineering skill set and they want to learn Azure Data Factory and why we are using it and what are the different data engineering ETL or ELT related benefits that you can get out of this. So that is the whole intention. So if you are in that particular skill set or if you are in that learning path, so I would say this is a right introduction and right series of Azure Data Factories videos that you can follow. So before proceeding, if you haven't subscribed for this channel, please subscribe for this channel and hit bell button for instant notifications. And also, I would recommend you to share these videos with your friends and colleagues who are interested to learn regarding Azure, especially with respect to data engineering. So let's get started. So, let us understand these basic concepts. I think we need to understand before we jump into Azure Data Factory. When you're learning any particular technology or any particular subject, so we need to know the intent. So behind why we are learning and what is the expectation from this learning. So that is quite important to know. So that is the reason I have made this introductory video so that we set that agenda, what we are going to try or what we are going to learn with respect to Azure Data Factory, right? So as you can see, so we will understand what is it. What is exactly Azure Data Factory is and why we are using it. So like there are a lot of tools in the markets available, a lot of tools and technologies are there, and why we are using Azure, why we should use Azure Data Factory, right? So that's the question that should pop up in any learner's mind. And when we want to use it, so which are the different scenarios, and so where we want to apply this, right? And where we cannot apply this. So those are the things we need to understand so that so we know. Whenever this is a tool, right? It's a kind of tool. So if you're using any tool for that matter, if you're using a screwdriver, you should know where to use the screwdriver and where not to use the screwdriver. So that is the whole intent that we're trying to understand here. And the next point is why learn it. So basically, like there are like other ETL tools or other ELT tools that are very similar to Data Factory, and why we should learn Azure Data Factory only, right? So that is the importance or the market benefits that you get. So that we will see in this video, and not the last point we will learn how to learn it basically, right? So we should learn how to learn basically, right? So that is where this comes into picture, where we will see so what are the resources available and how we can learn self-learn basically with respect to understanding Azure Data Factory in detail, right? So with that, so we'll jump to the next slide where we will understand what exactly Azure Data Factory is. So as you can see, Azure Data Factory is a fully managed service by Microsoft. So I think I'm sure that by this time you should be knowing that Azure Data Factory is a service which is provided by the Microsoft, and it is fully managed. So what is the meaning of fully managed? Let's understand, right? So when we say fully managed, it means you are not creating any infrastructure or you are not maintaining any infrastructure. So it is completely created, managed, maintained by the third party. Here in this case, it is Microsoft. Basically, what I mean to say is it is a PaaS solution. So basically, it is a platform as a service. They are providing the platform to kind of use that platform and take the advantage of Azure Data Factory with respect to ETL, ELT, whatever the service that is providing, right? So we're just paying for that service, and we're getting that benefit out of Microsoft Azure Data Factory. So that is the meaning of fully managed, right? And so serverless data integration solution for, so what is it? So like when we are understanding the definition of Data Factory, right? So this is a serverless data integration solution. Serverless means, as I mentioned, it is a fully managed service, right? So serverless in as a meaning, right? So as a user, you don't have to post any server here or bring up any cloud service, right? So you just need to create a data factory and start using it. So everything will be in the background, which will be taken care of by Azure. And when we're talking about data integration, so let us understand what exactly data integration is, right? So in an enterprise, say organizations, what happens is you have to bring data from different applications, tools, and kind of bring those data and to one place basically, and then apply business transformations, and finally you create a business reports or whatever the PowerPoint presentations based on these results, or you can have sophisticated business intelligence tools running on it, like Power BI and Tableau and basically any different business intelligence or reporting tool for that matter, right? So take an example. You want to create a particular report, right, for the sales team to kind of predict some sales, or they want to know the history of the last 2 years with respect to a trend chart or a bar chart, right? So for that, you might be needing a data which is coming from a different application. Like when I say application, it may be a HR database, it might be sales database, it might be finance database, right? It might be a ERP tools database. So basically, it is not stored in one place, right? The data is not stored in one application or one database. You have to get the data from different application, different tools in the organization, and bring them in one place, and then perform analytics or then expose that data to the reporting tools, right? So that we are calling as a data integration. So that data factory is majorly used for that purpose, where it integrates different kind of applications or tools data and pull the data from them. So that's the main intention here, right? So that pulling of the data, we call it as an ingestion. So and preparing the data, and also like when you say preparing the data, internally we might use Azure Data Factory components or activity itself, or some if there are some complex transformation, we can use data bricks in the background, so that we can see in the upcoming videos. But I'll not go in detail in this related to preparing. And preparing and transformation, I would say it's the same similar concept, I would say, where some sort of coding might be used. So like Python, PySpark, or Scala kind of coding might be used for that matter. But the entire orchestration will be done via Azure Data Factory only, right? So, and the next thing is it's a code-free ETL or ELT as a service. That means there is a difference between ETL and ELT, and there is a link in the description if you want to learn more about the difference between ETL or ELT. If you are especially new to this concepts, right? So I recommend you to go to the description and check this the difference between ETL and ELT. There is a specific video for that, right? But so there is a small difference between ELT and ETL basically, and so what we are trying to achieve here is the code-free, right? We are not writing any code here, so that's the main advantage of using Azure Data Factory. Like anyone who knows drag and drop features and who can learn Azure Data Factory and setting up few technical connections and connection details can basically set up this ETL or ELT as a service and without writing any code. And it's a pay-as-you-go service. As I've mentioned, this is fully managed by Microsoft, and you have to pay some amount or some bills on a monthly basis to Microsoft. So that will be usually by like a monthly subscriptions will be there, and if you go to the enterprise level, there are different subscriptions plans according to customized according to the different organizations requirements. But usually it will be a monthly payment that you have to do for Microsoft, right? So let's go to the next slide, where we'll understand why we use it, right? So Azure Data Factory understanding, like we understood what exactly it is, and now we will see why we have to use it, right? So what are the advantage of using it? Basically, this particular slide tells about what are the benefits or what are the advantages if you learn Data Factory, and so where exactly it can be beneficial, right? So let's see that. So one by one. So as you can see, big data integration requirement for data science, AI, and ML. So Azure Data Factory in the current organizations which are using it, mainly used for these kind of cases where you have a big data integrations requirement, where you get the data from different databases, different big data platforms to your data lakes, right? And finally, what is the intent is? Intent is to perform data science use cases or artificial intelligence or machine learning use cases, right? And also there might be use cases where, as we have mentioned, it can be like just a Power BI or a Tableau kind of a reporting that you'll be performing on top of the data that you ingest and then do a transformation, right? And the next advantage or next benefit is orchestration and operationalizing of big data pipelines. So data factories are nothing but you are creating a series of pipelines, and these pipelines are meant to be orchestrated. That means suppose orchestration is nothing but you are setting the steps. Like first step is you will ingest the data, second step is you prep the data, third step is you transform the data, fourth step is you dispatch the data. So there is a series of steps that you are performing here, right? So this series of steps, it will be orchestrated. That means what step has to be happen after what step. So that is what we call it as orchestration, right? So that we are performing here, and operationalizing is nothing but you are scheduling here. So you schedule a pipelines like every day basis or every hourly basis. So that is what we schedule it and make it operational, so that it will be running every day as per the schedule. And next, after scheduling also, you have a benefit of monitoring and optimizing the pipelines basically. So when the pipelines are failing, when the pipelines are taking longer time, right? So as a part of operations, you have a capability of monitoring those pipelines, what's happening in the background and what's happening in each activity of the data pipelines, right? So that you can basically monitor, and it is completely UI based. So when I say UI based, you do not have to go to check a logs, like go to the backend and check the logs, and like there is no coding involved to get the data, right? So it is just a plain UI based interface in your browser, so that you can utilize to monitor and optimize the pipelines. So integration capability with different data systems. As we know, our data factory is used for integration purpose already. So we are telling here it can integrate with different data systems. What we mean here is, so it can, like it has an inbuilt connectors to all the possible data source. You name any database like SQL, Oracle, Vertica, DB2, or any database for that matter. It has connectors for all databases and the file systems. You can connect to the Windows file system, Linux file systems, right? And you can even connect to the connect via the REST API for that matter, right? Like using web activity in Data Factory, you can even have connections to the. We can make a connection of REST API to any API based connections, and also you can get the data from different like SAP systems, say for that matter, or you can get the data from Amazon S3 bucket, say different cloud vendors. So that's the whole beauty of it, and so you can get the data and you can put the data to different source systems or target systems, right? So that is I mean, there are a lot of connectors already available in as part of Azure Data Factory. So yeah, so that is the I would say the major capability of Data Factory, and it blends well with the different databases as I mentioned, right? So basically, when I say blends well, that means you can connect to the different databases as a source or target, and you can just make the job, I mean, data pipelines ready. And also you can have the connectors with to the big data solutions, like say Amazon S3 bucket, Hadoop, open like there's a Hadoop open system, like open source Apache Hadoop, and you can make a connections to say like uh, HDFS. You can make a connection to data lake in Azure, so like a blob storage, right? So these are the big data storage solutions. Basically, you can connect to the connect and like get and put the data to all these big data storage solutions also. And as you mentioned, it is very, I would say, comparatively easy to learn and use. So if you're especially from a coding background, right? So you can feel it very easy because most of the components are drag and drop. So very less coding is required. So only if you want to perform some complex transformations, custom transformations, then only you have to go for Databricks, where you will write a coding in Python, PySpark, or Scala, or else it is just a matter of drag and drop and setting up the connection details. Yeah. And you can scale it at enterprise level. So the scaling is very important when you're talking about enterprise solutions, right? So so it provides scaling. That means so as your data volume grows, as you mature, as you mature, you want to mature by time. So in that case, you want to scale up your system. In that case, there's automatic scale up and scale down the Azure Data Factory provides. That's why you say pay as you go. How much you are using it, you are paying for that much. So it is auto scalable, like scale up and scale down is auto scalable. So you do not worry about it. So that's the advantage of using Data Factory. And data security and compliance. So no matter what Azure actually provides, as part of its SLA only, it provides data security. It takes data security very seriously. And when we talk about Azure, it talks about data at rest, data at transit. Basically, when the data is at storage or data at a time of moving from system to system, it is always taken care by some sort of encryption, which goes in backend. So I don't want to go in detail of that, but it actually Azure inbuilt provides this data security as part of its SLA. So we understood why we are using it and advantage of it. So next slide, we will see when to use it. So when I say when to use it, so when exactly and which cases, which scenarios you have to use Data Factory so that it can benefit you. So let's take a couple of cases, and these cases please note, these cases are not limited. I would say there might be a lot of cases, but I'm taking these cases based on my experience and usual industry practice. Okay, so feel free to comment if you are using any other cases in your projects, so which is not covered here, right? So taking example of use case one, so there are a lot of cloud migration projects. So Azure Data Factory, when it came into the market, I think it was mostly used for cloud migrations project. That means if you are migrating from on-premise to the cloud systems, right? So that is where Azure Data Factory, most of the projects are started or currently are running. That means you are having an on-premise database or on-premise storage solutions, and you want to migrate that to the Azure cloud system. So that is where most of the projects are running. And coming to the use case two, data integration. So as I was mentioning, data integration is a critical place where to fetch the particular reports or to fetch the particular data or insights, it is critical to bring the data from different data systems and perform the integration, and then do the transformation, and then finally you dispatch the data or expose the data to the reporting, right? So that's where data integration projects are. There are a lot of data integration projects running it. So in these projects, the main concern is how do you link between the systems, right? There might be thousands of systems where you want to link the connection between, and that's where you want to do a lot of data modeling work in such projects, right? And the third use case is the data centralization. So almost all the I would say almost all the Fortune 500 companies, including the big companies, big MNCs. So they want to bring in all the domains. For example, it might be airlines, automobiles, retail, telecom, energy. So whatever organizations or vertical you take, so they are all concentrating on data centralization. That means that they want to keep all their data in one centralized repository, so that they can perform. They can basically get a lot of insights and benefits whenever they want to do any custom analytics or analysis, right? So almost this is there are a lot of projects running in the data centralization also, and they are creating enterprise data lakes kind of thing to perform the data data centralization. So when they have the enterprise data lakes, so they have the data from all the different databases they have from all the different verticals like HR, sales, marketing, retail, right? So when they have this entire data of the organization, they can perform any kind of analytics, reporting, analysis, whatever they want. So they just have the data, right? So they can do anything. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to kind of integrate them and bring them and then perform analytics. So that is the reason. So data lake is actually a cheaper solution compared to the databases. That's why all the organizations are just bringing the data and dumping there in their enterprise data lake. And just understanding the use case 5, that is big data analytics, right? So if when I say big data, so Azure, especially Azure, is like provides basically data lake platform similar to like Amazon S3. We have in Amazon you have S3 bucket, and so which are like basically a data lake kind of providers where it is a cheaper solution. So to store your data, right? And that's why most of the organizations are using these solutions to store their data whenever there is a huge amount of data, which we call it as a big data, and then we can perform analytics, reporting, or any kind of machine learning kind of pipe jobs you want to run, right? So you have a machine learning or AI training systems that are running on this, and you can make use of it. So yeah, so as you can see, it covers most of the things which comes under umbrella of data engineering basically. So whoever does these jobs, like it will be usually a data engineers, Azure data engineers who will be working in all different kind of scenarios using Azure Data Factory. As I mentioned, this is not an exhaustive list, so there might be a different other use cases as well. Please feel free to comment and let me know if you have used if you have used Azure Data Factory in any other different cases. Right. Thank you. And finally, we will understand why we will learn it. Right. So as you can see the trend that in the market trend, right? So Amazon still is a clear winner. I would not deny that Microsoft has crossed Amazon, but Microsoft in future is predicted to catch Amazon to become a market leader in the cloud platform. But definitely there is a there's a trend that Microsoft has shown us that it is continuously improving. Especially, I would say it's because of the Microsoft sales team that they are capturing a lot of market, and they are growing constantly. So yeah, that is the reason. If you see the graph, it is always exponential. If not exponential, I think a near exponential graph. You see over the time that it is growing, and so that's the driving factor that you should learn Microsoft, any Microsoft products, especially like data engineering tools and technologies. So that's the first point I want to highlight here. And next is especially the brand value. So as you know, Microsoft is with respect to the brand value. So there is no doubt about it, and so you can expect like at least a good amount of time Microsoft stays in the market with respect to considering its brand value. So yeah, so that's the beauty of Microsoft, right? And highest paid jobs for data engineering, data scientist, analyst, and the platform engineers. So as because of the trend and the brand value, and obviously the pays will definitely go good with respect to the whoever knows Azure technologies, right? So it may be a data engineers, analyst, data scientist, and also the infrastructure of the platform team, which handles all this. So we would see, the good amount of pay in the market currently. So that is one of the uh, advantage, especially who want to have their switch of the career, right? If you are in a different career and if you want to switch to a data engineering career or data scientist career, so it is a it's good to go actually. And if you are intended to learn and yeah, if you're intended to learn and switch, basically it will be good. And so finally, we want to know how we can learn it. So I'm not going to give here entire details of these things, but I'm trying to give you the pointers where you can go and check like how to learn this. But definitely, I'm going to give what are the points, consolidated points here. The first thing is Microsoft documentation. So I'm placing this Microsoft documentation in the description below. You can go there and learn Azure Data Factory. I think this is the best way how you can learn Data Factory. Obviously, it will be sometimes more theoretical, but since it's a Microsoft documentation, they cover almost all the basic details, I would say. Yeah. And online teaching apps, platforms. There are, as you know, there are different apps, teaching apps you can get, and there are different platforms you can go and learn, right? So there are some paid, there are some free courses, right? There are some free blogs available with respect to your data factory. So if you talk about 3 to 4 years before, there were very less limited amount of free blogs and free YouTube videos. But now if you see, there are a lot of YouTube videos, and especially I would suggest different YouTube channels. And not like I would mention the data channel also. I would recommend this channel where you can check all our Azure, not only data factory related, but you can see all Azure related videos also. But you can see data factory series coming up. You can just follow this channel where you can subscribe, and you can have a you can follow basically to get the latest videos. And you have a free Microsoft account for practice, so that you get for a limited amount of time from Microsoft. So there you have some process where you should have a Microsoft account created, and then give you some card details. Okay, not to worry, they will not charge you unless you cancel it. But there is a detailed video about this. You can create your own Microsoft account and create data factory and practice it. So there is a link in the description for this as well. Okay, you can go ahead and check and create your Microsoft account and start practicing Azure Data Factory. And that's all from this video. We will come up with the next exciting videos. Until then, signing off. Thank you.